People of the world, friends and relatives, are you a beginner, intermediate, or advanced guitarist? What does it even mean to be a beginner guitar player? What does it take to be an advanced player? Guys, I'm so excited to unravel these massive balls of mystery with you today. But first, I have a question for you. I'm just curious. What do you think you're gonna get out of this video? You know, there's not like a set of achievements and you just check them off and then it goes, oh, congratulations, you are now officially an intermediate guitarist. But okay, even if there was like a set metric for how to determine what skill level of guitarist you are, what would you do with that information? Are you gonna do you have a friend at school who says like, I'm an advanced guitarist and you're just a beginner, and then you're gonna say, well, actually, according to Marin Music Center, you are a beginner and I am intermediate, so you can go and blow it out your massive ball hole. That crossed a line. I should not have said blow it out your massive ball hole, but let's just take a quick look at that expression. Like, humans don't have ball holes, I'm 99% sure, so I don't really think there's any practical way to make that into something vulgar. So I think we're good. Yeah, I'm confident. In the comments, I dare you to make me wish that I didn't make this video. Would you answer me this riddle, young Padawan? Sorry, I got very nervous because I don't know. I just stepped out of my comfort zone, and let me just hold my coffee some more. I don't think it's wise to use your skill level on guitar as like a competition with someone else. It's really no good, but it's also really fun. It's really fun to like compare yourself to others and go like, I could do that and they can't. And they've been trying to learn that thing for 6 months and I learned it in 4 weeks. So let me tell you something. Can I tell you a story? You're like, oh my God, I really thought I was gonna figure out what skill level I am, but I'm not. Stuart's just gonna, it's okay. Look, fine. How about we just don't have any fun ever, okay? I'm projecting my insecurities onto you. I'm sorry, not sorry. I promise, I'm gonna help you figure out what skill level you're at, and even better than that, I'm gonna help you learn what to do with that information. But let's talk about how fun comparing yourself to others is really quickly. When I was in college, I was gonna say university, I thought I was English for a second. What happened is I went to Berklee College of Music, and Berklee, at least when I was there, had this ratings system. When you arrive at the school, you do an audition, and then they literally give you 4 numbers, like a ranking in 4 different skills. I forget what they were. I think it's like reading, rhythm, improv, and like technique, or I don't remember. But it was from 1 to 8, 1 being the worst, 8 being the strongest. So literally every student at the school had this 4-digit number that was kind of like the representation of their overall skill. And so you'd be like, I have 3s, but I was sick when I did the audition, so I'm gonna re-audition next semester, and definitely my rhythm and technique is gonna be bumped up to 4, if not 5. So, and then someone would say like, yeah, I have 6s, and they go like, well, you have 6s, and then you go like, well, I have a 1 in reading, but reading is stupid, so I mean, I basically have 6s, that kind of thing. It just turned into this very intense competition, and I have to say, it was really fun. Like, really fun. It was so much fun asking people, so what ratings do you have? And they say, oh, I have 2, 2, 3, 3, and you go like, oh, cool, good for you. And it was terrible, such a toxic thing, but it was so much fun. Uncle Stuart, what were your ratings? I'll tell you later in the video. But let's get pumping on this massive ball hole or whatever we said. That made it so much worse. Okay. So if we're not supposed to compare ourselves to others in like a competitive way like that, and who's better and who's beginner, who's advanced, then who cares? Why are we doing this? What's the point? How are you supposed to use this information? Well, it's about your own personal progress. It's about how you today compare with you from the past. It's your competition with your future self. Having an understanding of the level that you're at can change and adjust your approach to practicing and setting goals and expectations and all that. Uncle Stuart, sounds boring. It sounds I'm not interested. I know. You can ignore that. I just said it because I have to. Really, I already told you. The competition, comparing yourself to others, it's fun. I am going to help you determine what level you're at. And then I recommend you don't go and like shove it in other people's faces, but you can think about it when you're falling asleep and feel good about it or depressed about it. either way. Okay, so how do you determine what skill level you are? Is it the amount of time you've played guitar? No, it's like not even at all that. See, okay, look guys, this should be a clipboard video where I have my clipboard here because I have notes. But my clipboard was tragically destroyed last month, and so I'm using this Harry Potter special soap display. So I'm not advertising for them. And even if you wanted to buy it, you can't because I think it's limited edition. I got it for Christmas. So if it's not how long you've been playing that determines your skill level, what is it? Is it the techniques you know? Is it what's the hardest song you can play? Let's break it down a little bit. So first of all, there are essential musical skills and knowledge that pretty much every guitarist needs to possess. One is dexterity. When you're playing chords, scales, riffs, lead parts, how comfortably and smoothly can you play them? And how challenging of parts can you play, right? So there's dexterity. There's theory and ear training. Do you understand how the notes and chords work together? And can you hear how the notes and chords work together? There's repertoire or repertoire. That's French for repertoire, which is French for what songs can you play or something. Do you know some songs? Can you play music? How much of the world's music do you know how to play? I got all hung up on that one, sorry. Rhythm. This is a massive one. No matter what style you play, I believe that your sense of rhythm is a key component in determining what skill level you are. Obviously, there are so many other skills and techniques that you can possess as a guitarist. There's tapping, shredding, finger picking, playing with a slide, alternate tuning, songwriting. All of these things are amazing parts of being a guitarist. I don't believe any of those skills are critical for being a fantastic guitarist, whereas the things I just listed, like dexterity and music theory knowledge, at least some amount of that is pretty critical to be a truly advanced guitarist. Also, notice that I have not mentioned reading standard notation at all. Standard notation is a really valuable skill, but there are so many incredible guitarists who cannot read standard notation at all. So I think it would be ridiculous to say that you have to be able to read standard notation to be able to be an advanced guitarist. So we're just leaving standard notation out of this completely, which is where I think it belongs. Out of it, I mean. You're out of it. You're out of this world. Go freak your own fly with that piece of poo in your face. God, whoa, Stuart, what's going on? But that's not all. There's also the whole mindset part of it. This part's gonna be boring. Your mindset and the habits that you develop with guitar are a massive ball hole in determining your overall skill level. So it's just regular things that come from experience in basically any field. Discipline, professionalism, willpower, self-motivation, able to follow guidance and take criticism. Guys, pretty boring. I told you about it, but that doesn't change the fact that those are important. Look, those are skills that you can work on, but obviously practicing those skills is different than practicing scales and stuff. But you know, is it though? I have to tell you something. Can I tell you something? I feel like let's take willpower as an example. I believe that I was born with exceptionally low willpower. But then I feel like it's a very practicable skill. It's not fun to practice, but then it starts to get fun. It's like anything else. When you first start, you just feel worthless, but then you kind of like every day go, okay, I'm just gonna get myself to do this thing that I don't really want to, but I think it would be good, so I'm just gonna do it. And then like, I'm not trying to make this into a motivational speech, but I'm feeling very motivational because I believe that practicing willpower is a good idea. How's that? That was not great. Okay. Should I redo this little section? No, I've already redone it like 3 times. I think we'll just leave it like that. Let's take a look at each skill level. Beginner. This is the most familiar to all of us because literally every single one of us has been a beginner at some point, if we are not currently a beginner. It's exciting. It's also frustrating. You can have like really fast bouts of progress, but you also, sometimes it's really tough to push through that first phase of being a beginner. We all know this. I'm not saying anything that none of us don't already know. Let's quickly run through what's sort of like the general knowledge and ability that's expected of a beginner. So when it comes to dexterity, a beginner, is likely learning their basic chords and is able to switch, but it's going to be very choppy, very slow, and it's going to be very difficult. When it comes to scales, I would say a lot of beginners won't know any scales. Like, you might know the minor pentatonic scale. Maybe you're playing the major scale a little bit, but they might be slow going. And again, you might not know any. That's fine. As for theory and ear training, well, you probably know the names of the chords that you're learning, and you might know the names of a few notes, but you really might not. And as far as ear training goes, I would say you usually can hear if you play a wrong note, but sometimes you might not really be able to tell. So, that's how that goes. Great, amazing, this is great. So we're having so much fun. We're learning so much here today. As far as repertoire goes, you probably know a handful of riffs. Maybe you know one or two songs all the way through, but you can only kind of play them and you don't have them totally memorized yet. I think that you understand the gist of what I'm saying. If you're a beginner, you kind of suck. Rhythm, I would say, is the biggest struggle for most beginners. Most beginners put a lot of emphasis on putting their fingers in the right places and plucking the right strings, but they're not really thinking about how the overall sound and the overall, what I just said, the rhythm. You don't have to say the overall all the time. Beginners suck at paying attention to rhythm, and pretty much the whole point of this video is I'm just going to tell you to focus on rhythm. But I'm planting the seed for later on when I say it's all about rhythm. Mindset is also a big one for beginners because you haven't really developed the practice habits and you haven't really learned to take it seriously. When I say take it seriously, I don't mean you have to be serious. I just mean go, okay, this actually is going to take some dedication and some practice and some all of that kind of stuff. You just haven't gotten in the swing of that yet. Unless you have already played a different instrument for a while, or maybe you've been really into a sport or something and you actually have developed those habits of discipline and practice and consistency and all that kind of thing. I would actually say that someone who has been very seriously playing tennis for 8 years is probably gonna just blow right through the massive ball hole of being a beginner and transfer into being intermediate pretty quickly. But if guitar is your first thing like that first hobby skill activity that takes a lot of consistent practice, that's maybe going to be the hardest lesson for you to learn, is that you really have to play it a lot. You have to play it pretty much every day, and you have to kind of obsess over it, and you probably haven't learned that yet. You've probably gotten really good at obsessing over looking at your guitar and polishing it and thinking about what stickers to put on it, but I bet you're not obsessed with seriously practicing yet. But that's fine, you're just a beginner. You're just a tiny little baby little beginner. The telltale weakness and sign of a beginner player is hesitation. Most beginners, when they're playing anything, are gonna hesitate regularly. For example, that choppy pausing, just even if it's a song you know really, really well, that's gonna be the crux to your mucks. And we want to get rid of that hesitation. I believe that if you can really shed that hesitation in your playing, that will really propel you into being an intermediate player. Here's my advice. Here's my advice for beginners. Just put in hours of playing. Don't worry about if you're practicing the right things. I know, kind of a hot take. I don't think that you need to go, okay, do I need to practice scales? Do I need to practice chords? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? There's lots of things that would be great for you to do. Just put in the hours. Just play. While you're practicing, in the back of your mind, think to yourself, I should focus on rhythm and not on faster and more notes and more chords and more scales. Just focus on the rhythm. Play along with recordings if you possibly can, put on songs you like and try to play along. That's gonna be your best friend. But mostly for beginner, you're trying to put in hours of playing and you're trying to shed that hesitation with your playing. Let's take a look at the intermediate guitarist. Intermediate guitarist is where most people kind of plateau as an intermediate guitarist, because this is where you do need to start thinking about, okay, what should I practice? What am I gonna do? Let's run through the basic skills. For an intermediate guitarist, basic chords and basic scales should be pretty effortless. They should be pretty easy. Bar chords, maybe you're starting to get pretty comfortable with bar chords. I would say that the whole bar chord saga kind of takes place in the intermediate realm. So if you have a basic grasp of bar chords, there's a very good chance you're an intermediate player. You really should be learning the major scale at this point. When I say should, if you have no interest, I don't care. Don't learn the major scale. But if you want to expand your overall general musicianship, learn the major scale, learn the minor scale, learn all the positions of the pentatonic scale. They should be easy. Scales should be getting pretty easy for you at this point, the basic ones. And you're probably starting to learn some more of the variations. Like, I don't know. I don't think anyone actually needs to learn modes, but if you're into that sort of thing, then good for you and you're a massive ball hole. So what I would like to say next is that as far as theory goes, I think as an intermediate player, you should start to know what chords fit together. So you should be understanding how keys work, what chords sound good together, what scales fit with different chord progressions. And with ear training, I believe an intermediate guitarist should be able to learn basic songs by ear. So you listen to a song and you're kind of like playing, you can figure out the chord progressions and you can figure out some of the solos, not like the crazy solos, but you know, a song that goes like, I just wrote that. Do you like it? If there's a song that has something like that, I think in like 15 minutes, you should be able to figure out what those notes are. Great job. Okay, rhythm. Let's talk about rhythm. An intermediate guitarist always feels a constant pulse of the song in their body. So a beginner struggles to feel the rhythm of the song. Intermediate player, you're like, you can tap your foot, you maybe you're bobbing your head, or maybe you're just feeling it inside of your being, but you can feel that pulse of the song all the time. So everything you're playing is always lined up with that pulse. I'm gonna say that is the key component to an intermediate player. The key component to an intermediate player is that constant feeling of rhythm. It's critical. If you don't have that, I would venture to say that you are a beginner. Mindset. I don't know. I didn't write anything for mindset. So I guess that intermediate players do not have a mindset. My advice for intermediate players is twofold. One, play with other people. Join a band. Have like a songwriting partner. Play in a band at school or a community band. Play with other people. I don't believe you will be able to successfully leave the intermediate realm without playing with other people. I think it's critical. You don't have to do it all the time, but you gotta do it sometimes. The other thing is you do need to start prioritizing practicing the hard parts of songs and scales and stuff. So if there's a song that you like and there's this one chord change that's really tough, then when you sit down to practice, you have to start by playing that hard part. If you're learning some scales and you're really good at this key and really good at this key, but you're really bad at this key, guess what key you have to practice the most? That one that you're bad at. So you have to start prioritizing the stuff that you're bad at. Let's take a look at the advanced guitarist. I believe that when you are truly advanced, you kind of stop thinking about if you're advanced. At this point, it really is you versus you. You are just thinking, how can I get better at doing the things that I want to do on guitar? The word that I would use to encompass an advanced player is fluency. You want to feel completely fluent on your guitar, affluent on your guitar. You would like to have so much wealth in your guitar. I do not believe it is about speed at all. You are gonna think that you have to be able to play scales faster. You have to be able to play faster riffs. So intermediate is learning the skills, then advanced is speeding up those skills. I could not disagree with that more. Think about all of the amazing world-class guitarists that are just not concerned with playing things quickly. It's about playing them tastefully and musically and making things that people actually want to listen to. Now, are there guitarists that their priority is speed? Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's because that is their priority as an advanced guitarist. Your priority might be, I don't know. I can't think of anything. It's all about being confident and comfortable and smooth with your playing, not being fast necessarily. As far as chords and scales go, you probably have a bunch of chords and scales memorized, but you probably can make up your own chord voicings and just kind of like figure out scales on the fly because it's all built into your fingers and your ears. When it comes to ear training and theory, your brain and your fingers and your ear are all kind of one thing. When you're playing a song, you think about what you want it to sound like and your fingers just kind of do it. Or maybe you're learning a song and just as you're listening to it, you can play along with it already. So you really should be able to figure out songs and create original things completely by ear at this point. Now, hang on a second. Don't freak out. When I say that you need to know theory and ear training and scales and stuff, like it's true, you do. But you do not necessarily need to know the like academic, systematic, what's the methodological, like you do not need to know what a C major 7 sharp 11 chord is. You don't. But you need to understand how the notes and chords work together. Same as like, I said you don't need to know standard notation to be an advanced guitarist. I'm doubling down on that. I feel very comfortable telling you that I'm doubling down on not having to know standard notation, but you do need to be able to communicate with other musicians. So the common vernacular for standard notation and music theory and ear training and intervals and all that, those are really helpful for communicating with other musicians, and they can be really helpful for you understanding that material. But if you do not know those specific technical terms and everything, as long as you just have an understanding of it and you can hear how all of those elements combine in music and you can communicate that with other musicians, I think you're okay. Now, let me throw this one more caveat in there. I don't know. I'm going to shut up. Never mind. Repertoire. I believe that as an advanced guitarist, this isn't entirely true, but pretty much any song that you ever play, you kind of just know it. Do you have every note completely memorized? No, but you probably can kind of like figure it out as you go. That's how I play a lot of songs, is I don't have every chord memorized. I know how it starts, and then I kind of can feel it out as I'm going because my ears and my fingers are so in tune with each other. Rhythm for an advanced guitarist. For an advanced guitarist, I believe that you couldn't mess up the rhythm if you tried. The mindset of an advanced player is usually one of like they like to play, they probably even love to play, but that doesn't even matter. They're just going to play every day. I mean, when you go on vacation, I think it's good to take a break from it, but it's not a question of like, okay, when should I practice today? Well, I gotta practice. If you're an advanced player, I bet you that you just pick up your guitar without thinking of it all the time. Here's my advice for an advanced guitarist. Prioritize the things that you actually want to be able to do on guitar. Don't just go, what's the thing I'm supposed to do? Because there's so many different things. You're not going to be able to master all of them. Well, unless maybe you can. So you need to really think about who are the guitarists I love, what do I want to be able to do, and then obsess over those skills. Here's another tip for if you consider yourself an advanced guitarist and you would really like to continue to improve, I recommend you have like project-based practicing. What I mean by that is have like specific reasons why you are practicing the things that you are. So maybe it's that you're in a band and there's a certain kind of song you're working on and you need to work on learning that song. Or maybe there's a recording session you want to do and you want to write a guitar part for it. So you're working towards that recording session. Or maybe there's an audition to get into a school or a program or something like that. When you're advanced, you're going to have to really push yourself to learn new things. Having a specific project or a specific situation that actually puts some pressure on you, I think is a really good way to get results if you are already in that advanced realm. I just want to emphasize one thing. I thought this would come up a lot more throughout the course of the video, but it really has not come up that much. I personally believe that the number one determining factor for what your skill level is as a guitarist is rhythm. If you don't have a huge chord vocabulary, there aren't all that many like special techniques, you know, you're not that into songwriting, you can have a lot of shortcomings, but as long as your sense of rhythm is really rock solid, that's what's gonna make other musicians go, man, that person is a good musician. It's gonna make you feel more confident. That is always the place to put most of your energy, is into the bucket of rhythm advancement. Sorry. Golly gee. Rhythm. Guys, rhythm. We gotta wrap things up here. I think that it's important that I tell you what my ratings were in college. My ratings were straight sixes. 6, 6, 6, 6. I got them in my first audition, my first semester, and I was so proud of it, and I showed off to everyone that I possibly could. In fact, that's one of the main reasons I'm doing this video right now, is to show off to you that I got 6s. And then I didn't re-audition at all because I was afraid they were gonna go down. I believe that I am an advanced guitarist. I cannot shred. I cannot tap. There are many things that I cannot do, but I believe that I have that fluency, I have that feeling of rhythm surging throughout my massive ball hole. I have other things I want to say, but I kind of have to go. I had a whole analogy about Spider-Man, but I'm going to share that with you a different time because I need to go. I kind of panicked there for a minute. I had to clear out of my house ASAP for reasons that frankly were none of your business. But now I'm on a walk outside with Dobby and Hufflepuff, so I can really quickly tell you this stupid Spider-Man analogy and one other thing I wanted to say. So the Spider-Man analogy is this. One of the reasons I feel like I'm an advanced guitarist is because I play guitar kind of like Spider-Man jumps off a building, and here's what I mean by that. When Spider-Man jumps off a building, he knows the direction he's headed. He knows that he'll be able to find like ledges to jump off of and things to hook onto, but he doesn't have it all completely planned out when he jumps off the building. But he knows that he's strong and quick enough to figure it out as he's flying through the air. Sorry, that sounded way stupider than I thought it was going to. I don't know. Spider-Man is good at stuff, and so you can be good at guitar. I've told that analogy to so many people, and that was the worst I've ever done it. The other thing I wanted to say is that I believe it took me about 20 years to become an advanced guitarist. I definitely could have done it faster, but let me tell you what I prioritize when I play guitar is I prioritize having a really good time doing it. I don't ever want guitar to be something that I resent. I have times where I get frustrated, and I have times where I'm working on a specific thing that is no fun at all. But if I find myself really not enjoying it, I just don't worry about it. Probably not great advice to actually progress and become more advanced as quickly as possible. But hey, that's why it took me so long, and I personally am... Guys, sorry about that. Someone I knew started walking down the path towards me, and for some reason I felt like it was gonna be super embarrassing if they knew I was recording a YouTube video, so I had to just quickly put everything away, and then I was very suspicious, and I'm pretty sure they thought I was up to something way sketchier than just recording a video. But anyway, I think what I was saying is I was an intermediate guitarist for a very long time, millions of years, and I'm perfectly happy with it because we all have our own adventure, and you should be yourself, stay no to drugs, and go back to school. This fabulous journey of life is all about intermediates, beginners, advancements. And there's a place for each of us, and that's why I hope you continue your quest towards finding your true self and purpose. Very motivational. I'm really happy I recorded this last little part.